Hey everybody, in this video I'll be playing Frostgrave's the right hand and the left hand scenario, which will be the fourth battle for my Frostgrave 2nd edition campaign. Hey everybody, I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, the channel that plays tabletop games using toy bricks and blocks and discusses the rules and strategies to build the foundation for those games. Be sure to check the description box below where you'll find timestamps for this video, links to some of my other Frostgrave content, and warband lists that explain all the spells, casting numbers, soldiers, and magical equipment that the warbands have. This battle will be the right hand and the left hand scenario, and facing off will be Zygomor the Necromancer against Frappuccino the Sigilist. But before I get to the battle, I'm going to summarize how the warbands did in their last battle, show my table setup, explain the special rules for this scenario, discuss the warbands' goals, and then we'll start the battle. So now let's get to the bricks and blocks of Frostgrave 2nd Edition's the right hand and the left hand scenario. Zygomor and his warband had a tough time in the Ice Storm scenario. Ethmod the Apprentice was badly wounded, and getting him healed left them in debt. And the Ranger was also badly wounded after defeating 5 monsters, and he'll have to sit this battle out. They did, however, find a two-handed sword of fight +1 in that battle, and afterwards they moved into a crypt. They start this battle with a man-at-arms, 2 thieves, and 4 thugs. Zygomor passed 2 levels in that last battle, increasing his health by +1 and lowering the casting number of Brew Potion by 1. He starts this battle at level 2 with 20 experience points and in debt for 45 gold crowns. Frappuccino de la Mocha and his warband did quite well in their last battle, mostly by avoiding combat with the use of Telekinesis, and they were able to do a number of upgrades between battles. They purchased carrier pigeons and a crow's roost for their new base in a treasury. They hired a crowmaster and a demon hunter to join a ranger, a man-at-arms, a thug, 2 thieves, and their treasure hunter, to whom they gave their dagger of +1 fight that they'd found. Frappuccino passed 2 levels in that last battle, increasing his health by +1 and lowering the casting number of the heal spell by 1. He starts this battle at level 2 with 30 experience points and 27 gold crowns in his vault. My board is all set up and treasure tokens are placed, but before I show you the table, we're going to figure out which of these 2 wizards is going to get to select their side of the board first. In the last game, Zygomor used this die because it kind of matched him, but I found that the red on black was a little hard to read, so he's going to switch to this die for the campaign, and Frappuccino will be using this one. Let's figure out who selects their side first. We've got 13 for Zygomor against 12, so Zygomor is going to select first. Before we look at the board, we're going to cast their out-of-game spells. For the Necromancer brothers, Zygomor and Ethmod, they've got 3 before-game spells they can cast, starting with Raise Zombie. Zygomor will cast this on a 10 with a +2 because he's got a crypt. And that's an 8, he fails, and Zygomor essentially +0 because he's an apprentice. 7, so he fails that. Next we will attempt Brew Potion. Zygomor on a 13. Failure, and Ethmod on a 13 -2. Alright, he got that, and he will brew a Potion of Preservation because they need gold crowns, and that one sells for 200 gold crowns. And last, they'll attempt Reveal Secret. Zygomor on a 16. Failure, and Ethmod with a -2 to that. It's a 13, that is also a failure. For Frappuccino and Rider, they have no before-game spells. Their only out-of-game spell is Right Scroll, which they cast after the battle. My board is all set up and the warbands are deployed. Zygomor, the Necromancer, decided to deploy on this side, which meant Frappuccino and his team is deployed over here. I'll get to their deployments here in a moment. The main feature of this scenario, this is the left-hand and right-hand scenario, is there's supposed to be a gold statue on top of a pyramid structure in the middle of the table. The structure is supposed to have the bottom level of 8x8, then 6x6, then 4x4, which this is. However, each tier is supposed to be 3 inches tall, and it's the equivalent of 2¼ inches tall. So it's a little shorter than it's supposed to be, but that's okay. With this central golden statue, I think it's supposed to be a person with a left arm and a right arm, but I don't have a large gold Lego figure, so I kind of made this, and I have kind of the idea there's two cups, kind of a cup of wrath and a cup of blessing, and at the end of each turn, it will essentially fire a bolt of lightning at one figure and heal another figure. And as soon as any figure comes into contact with this statue, it will just drop a central treasure token next to that figure, so that treasure token does not start on the board. And also, if a apprentice steps foot anywhere on the pyramid, so I'm saying on the first tier or higher, it awards the wizard with 10 experience, and if a wizard steps on it, it awards them with 20 experience, and whichever warband is able to touch this statue to release the central treasure token, they get 30 experience points. For the other treasure tokens on the board, there is one here, and there's one that I placed on exactly the other side. There's one up here, up top. Both wizards have access to telekinesis, so they both like having some high treasures they can maybe move around. And the other treasure token is right over here, right down there, close to Zygomor's team. For Zygomor's deployment, since their ranger was badly wounded after their last battle, this is the one that took out 5 monsters in the last battle, he will not be joining them, which leaves them down one figure. So they've got their man-at-arms and a thief here. Over here they've got 4 orc thieves that they convinced to join them, and a thief over there. We've got Zygomor, the Necromancer, and here we have his brother, the Apprentice, Ethmod, and Ethmod has that magical two-handed sword of fight +1. And since they're down a soldier and have mostly just thieves and thugs with them, they're kind of wanting to just get in and out of this battle quickly. So normally their goal is to just try to get 3 treasure tokens off the board. If they had cast Reveal Secret, then they would probably just go with some of the standard treasure tokens, but since they didn't, they do want to try to get the centralized treasure token, but we'll see what happens if their forces start getting depleted. They might just try to get their 2 closest treasures and then get off the board, trying to pay off some of their debts. Frappuccino's team over here is looking quite different than Zygomor's team, as they've got a lot of upgraded soldiers. Over here we've got Frappuccino, the Sigilist, with the Ranger, the Treasure Hunter that has the magical Dagger of fight +1, and a Thief. Over here we have another Thief and the new Crowmaster. And over here we have Ryder the Apprentice with their man-at-arms, their new Demon Hunter, and a Thug. Frappuccino's normal plan is to try to avoid combat and just use telekinesis to move their treasure tokens closer to them, and usually not focus much on the centralized treasure token, but in this battle they might not have much opposition, so they might just head up to get that. They also might try to send some of this team that's kind of powered up down here to try to stop Zygomor from getting this, but they usually like to try to avoid combat, so if they've got easy access to 3 treasure tokens, they might take that without bothering Zygomor's forces much. We'll see what happens. We'll roll initiative for the first round, and we've got 6 against 7, so another close die roll there, and that goes to Zygomor. Zygomor is going to activate by himself over here, and on a single move, he can kind of wind around here to right here, and from there, he is going to attempt to cast Telekinesis on that treasure token. They don't really want to rely on telekinesis, but that's kind of their best bet right now. They cast on a 14. Hey, he got a 14. 6 inches for this treasure token. He will move it straight over here, his 6 inches, and then when he's done with his move, it will drop, which will put it right down next to him. For Frappuccino over here, he's going to do a group activation. Usually I do just regular activations, but here I can actually make good use of this. He's going to group activate with the Thief, and the Thief is going to do his first move through here. 7 gets him to right there. Frappuccino will use his first action to move to right there. And from there, he's going to attempt to cast Push on the Thief to try to shove him down here, and then the Thief will use his second action to continue moving. This is from his Sigilist school. He casts it on an 8. 16, that is successful. So this allows him to do an attack roll against his own figure, and if he wins, then any damage that would be done instead just moves the figure that many inches. So this will be Frappuccino's die, and this will be the thief defending. And that's a plus 10 attack, so that's 14 against 7. That's a thief. So it does win. A 14 against 10 armor is 4 damage, or 4 inches. So 4 inches will only move him to right about here. And from there, he'll use his second action to move 3.5 more inches to right there. So he was hoping to shove him all the way down the battlefield, but that's good enough. Over to Ethmod the Apprentice. He'll activate by himself, and then on a single move up to here. And he will attempt to cast Imp. He casts this on a 12 with a -2. That's a 13. That is successful. And he will send that Imp right over to here. So then it can move into combat with that thief and hopefully stop him from preventing them from getting this treasure off the board. Then over to Ryder the Apprentice's turn. He's going to activate by himself, and he is going to attempt to cast Telekinesis on this treasure token there. On a 12 with a -2, that would be a 6. He'll go ahead and empower that for 6, and that will move it 6 inches, or 6 movement units, which will put it right down here. And then he will run through here to right here with his movement action. That empowerment leaves Ryder at 7 health, and then over here to Zygomor's soldiers, he'll start by having this thief run 7 inches right up in contact with this treasure token, and he will use his second action to pick that up. A random monster appears on a 10+, a 19. This will be a cross, this will be down. We've got 13 and 12. 13 is a level 2, and a 12 is a white gorilla. These things show up a lot in my games. And it shows up on edge 10, so that will be right over here in Frappuccino's area. I need to remember to stop setting up my soldiers right in the middle of the board, because that's where monsters appear. So he appears there, so I'm going to say he wouldn't be in combat, but as soon as that thief moves, he will be. And I think I really need to get an actual white gorilla sometimes. This brown monkey isn't as intimidating as its stats would imply. Then this thief here is going to run up here past Ethmod and come into contact with this treasure. And their man-at-arms is going to run over here on his double move to help this thief out if needed. Then for this gang of orcs over here, this one is going to double move over here and start climbing this. So that will put him halfway up that ladder. Then all 3 of these orcs will make a run for that staircase. And that puts all 3 of them right there. Over to Frappuccino's soldier phase. The ranger is going to do a single move over here for 7 movement units, and then he is going to fire an arrow at this imp. The imp will have a +1 because the ranger moved. That'll put the imp at +2 against shoot +2. The shot that's a 1, so 3 against 11, so that is a miss. This treasure hunter over here will double move past all these guys to right there. Over to here. So for these 2 figures to be in combat, someone actually has to move into combat. So even though they're right next to each other, they're not in combat. So they've got this Crowmaster here. So with the Crowmaster, he's kind of weak, but the crow that he has can move independently from the Crowmaster. So the crow is actually going to fly over here and engage this brown gorilla. So that's a blood crow, and they fly, so it can fly around here with no move penalty for going over the obstruction and come over here to engage the gorilla. And that will allow these 2 figures to move the train and move away. And it doesn't cost the Crowmaster an action to release his crow at all. So he's going to move over here on a single move, and with his second action, he will pick up that treasure token. A monster appears on a 10+. Nope. Then this thief is going to get out of here. It can double move over to here onto the step. Then this man-at-arms will double move towards the middle here. To there. The Demon Hunter is going to run through here and climb up this ladder. So it's a little hard to get him to stay. This Thug also moved from over there on a double move. So I just needed to get them both moved over here so they can kind of stay hanging on to that ladder. The Demon Hunter is right at the top, and the Thug's halfway up that ladder. To the creature phase, we'll start with this White Gorilla attacking this Blood Crow. Blood Crows have +0 fight. They have 14 armor and 1 health. So +0 against +4. That is a very, very dead Blood Crow. The good thing is that the Blood Crow comes back to life. Well, he gets a new Blood Crow after every battle, no matter what. And now, unfortunately, this White Gorilla does get a chance to random move. And actually, from where it's at, it can see that Ranger down there. So it's going to move 6 inches that direction. That'll put it right down here. Now over to this Imp. The closest target is this Thief, so it'll move at the Thief. 6 inches can get it into combat, so it can use its second action to attack. This is a +1 against a +1. And that is a 19 for the Thief. The Thief does -1 damage. That's still 8 damage. The Imp only had 6 health, so he takes out that Imp. He gets experience points for their team. And then at the end of the round, this golden statue will try to make line of sight with the 2 closest figures, which will be this Orc Thug here and this Thief over here. One of these figures is going to get a +5 shooting attack against it, and the other will get regain 5 health. So they're both the same distance, so we'll roll to see with this one if he's going to get the attack or the health. So for the Orc, on a 1 to 10, it gets the shooting attack, and it does. This is a +5 elemental shooting attack against +2 fight for the Thug. So that's an 11 against 13, so that deals the Thug wins, so no damage. And that means that this Thief over here regains 5 health, but he's at full health, so nothing happens there. Roll initiative for the next round, and that's decided for Frappuccino. Frappuccino will activate with this Ranger, and he'll start by having the Ranger fire an arrow at that White Gorilla. There is 1 piece of intervening terrain. That puts the shot at a +2 against +5 for the Ape Gorilla. That's a 17 against 17 on a tie. Shooting attacks miss. Then the Ranger will run over here and start climbing this ladder. Then Frappuccino is going to attempt to cast Explosive Rune over here in front of this White Gorilla. Casting on a 10. He got it. This will be my rune, and it can go up to 4 inches away from the spellcaster in line of sight, so he'll put it right there. Then Frappuccino will do a single move over here, right next to the Lady Treasure Hunter. Then over here to Zygomor's turn. He can see this Thief right here, and right through there. So he's going to attempt to cast Fleet Feet on that Thief. He casts this on a 12. 9, he'll empower that for 3. So that Thief is super fast now. And then Zygomor, who's down to 12 health, will do a single move up to here. And since he's made it on the pyramid structure, that will get him 20 bonus experience points. Then over here to Ryder's turn, he's going to attempt to cast Telekinesis on this treasure token right here. He casts on a 12 with a -2. That is a 9. He'll go ahead and empower that for 3. That'll put him down to 4 health. And he'll move that 6 inches straight out here, and then he'll drop right behind this Men-at-Arms. That does leave Ryder wounded, but prevents Zygomor's team from telekinesising, if that's a word, the treasure token over to their side. So now over here to Ethmod, he is going to attempt to cast Imp again, since his last Imp died, right over here next to Frappuccino, as close as he can get. This is on a 12 with a -2. That's an 8. He'll empower that for 4. So he'll put it right there. It has to be at least 3 inches away from the figure, which it is. For the soldier phase, Frappuccino is going to start by sending his ranger up this ladder over here. And from right there, he's going to fire an arrow at that imp. He moved, so this is a +2 against +2. Shot's only a 6, so that misses. Then this demon-killing thief is going to run over here. It'll move into combat with this imp over here. It only takes a single move, but he's just going to sit there. He's not going to attack, just to kind of keep that imp busy. Because that imp's there and distracted that thief, and because this soldier now has Fleet Feet cast on him, they're not going to bother trying to get to that treasure token. They're just going to start heading up here. So the treasure hunter on a double move can run up these stairs over this bridge right to here. From there, we'll go over to the demon hunter here, and he's going to run across this catwalk to right there on a single move, and he's going to fire his crossbow at this white gorilla. He moved, so the white gorilla is a +5 against the +2 shoot. And I guess he wins. That's an 11. It's a crossbow, so +2 damage. That's 1 damage on that gorilla. Gorillas have 14 health and 12 armor, so that's going to take a while to do enough damage to that thing. And I'll turn this crossbow around so I know it's empty. And then we'll move over here to this thug. He's going to hop back off this ladder, take the ladder with him. And he'll run over here to this treasure token, to right there, and he'll pick that up. A monster appears on a 10+. Nope. Then this Crow Master here is going to keep moving with his treasure token. Moving on a double move, he can only go 4.5 inches, which gets him right to the edge, but not enough to get off the board. This thief here is going to double move right up the side of this pyramid. It's 3 inches to the top to here. It's 2.5 inches to here, so that'll be 3, and then 5 inches basically to climb that, so 8. And then he'll have 2.5 inches left where he can get halfway up this ladder. And their last soldier to move will be this man-at-arms. He's going to run up these stairs and right over to here. Now, one mistake I'll point out, tactical mistake. When I moved this thief into combat, I shouldn't have. I should have kept him more than an inch away so that the imp has to move into combat. So in case the imp wins the combat and kills my thief, the imp would have already used its movement. But in this case, if the imp kills my thief, he could move into combat with Frappuccino. So bad tactical error there. To Zygomor's soldier phase, this thief is just going to try to get out of here as soon as he can. With Fleet Feet, on a double move, he can move 6.25 inches, which will put him right over here, because his movement's halved because of that treasure. Then their other treasure-carrying thief will also head towards the edge. He can get right over to here on a double move at 5.25 inches. And I just realized a tactical error that Ethmod made. After he cast Imp down there, I forgot to move him. So I guess the teams are even now on suboptimal choices. But we'll have this thug go ahead and finish climbing this ladder. And on a double move, he can come over here and get to right there. This man-at-arms can run up the ladder and over here. This hook-handed orc can run up these stairs and up to here. Climbing that wall is going to use most of his move, so he'll stop right there at the bottom of that ladder. And these last two orc thugs, this one will run up the stairs and come right over to here. And this one will run up the stairs and come over this way to prevent that demon hunter from coming in the back way. Now to the creature phase, the imp will attack the thief. It's +1 against +1. 14 for the imp, so that deals 4 damage to that thief. So that tactical error didn't end up costing them anything because the thief is still alive. And I should have had this gorilla go first because it has higher health. And it can see the thief up there, so it will travel that direction, which will put it right in the path of this explosive rune, which will go off. So it's a +5 attack against his +4 defense. It's only a 7 against 13, so no damage there to the white gorilla. And that is really unfortunate for Frappuccino's team, because this gorilla will now move up over here on his first move, and then from there it can see this treasure carrying thug and will move its last move right into combat with this thug. And then at the end of the turn, for the Cup of Wrath or Blessing, I'm using the top of this for its line of sight, and most of these figures, since they're tucked against the wall, can't be seen by it. He is definitely the closest and can be seen, and then just the top of this Man-at-Arms helmet can be seen. So those will be the 2 targets. We'll start with seeing if he gets the bolt or the healing. On a 1 to 10, he takes a bolt. Nope, he gets the healing. So that thief is at full health, so the healing does nothing. As far as this Man-at-Arms, since he's not in contact with this terrain, he does not get cover. Even though just the top of his helmet is exposed, it still just counts as intervening terrain. So he gets a +1 to his roll. This is a +5 shooting attack against +4 defense. Oh no, that is a critical hit. So that Man-at-Arms takes 13 +5 damage. Their one non-thief or thug goes down in a single blow. And we'll roll some initiative. We got 1 to 6, so Frappuccino is going first again. Frappuccino is going to start out by trying to cast Mind Control on that hooded thug. He cast this on a 16, and he only got a 5. That's not worth empowering. He fails by 11 and takes 2 points of damage. Then after that failure, he's going to run over here and climb up this ladder. So he is right there at the top. Zygomor is going to activate with this hooded thug and this hook-handed thug. And this one will start out by running up this ladder and coming into contact with this, which will bring the central treasure token into play. It comes into play touching both the statue and the soldier, and he will go ahead and pick that up. See if a monster appears on a 10+. 15, 1 shows up. This will be a cross and this will be down. 16 and 6. 16 is a level 2 encounter and a 6 is a bear. Let's see where that shows up. Side 1. Alright, so we have an actual bear. This polar bear is going to show up way down here, which is probably the lamest spot for the monster to show up because nothing is happening on that side of the table and it's kind of stuck behind that wall. This thug is going to come up and engage this Man-at-Arms. And then Zygomor is going to attempt to cast Imp. He can see right down here. It's a little hard to see with my camera, but he can see this spot right there. That's where he'll attempt to cast to. Casting on 12. Failure by 11. Well, luckily that wasn't Summon Demon, otherwise it would have summoned a bad demon right in combat with him. And I think I'll just have Zygomor stay right where he is. To the Apprentice phase, Rider over here is almost dead, so he's going to attempt to cast Heal on himself. He casts on a 9 with a -2. That is a 2. He failed by 7. That is 1 more point of damage. He's down to 3. Actually, he fails by 9 because he's wounded for an additional -2, so he takes 1 point of damage. For Ethmod's turn, he is going to run right over here. And then he's going to cast Animate Skull down here. He gets a +2 because of their crypt, but a -2 because he's an apprentice, so this casts on an 8. Alright, you got that? So I've decided to use this for my animated skulls instead of the skull on a pig. It just makes it look like it's got magical energy flowing out from behind it and makes it easier to see on my white board. So that will go right here. That's 6 inches away from Ethmod, but close enough to get to Frappuccino on a double move. To Frappuccino's soldier phase, he's getting kind of overrun by uncontrolled creatures with that gorilla, this imp, and now this skull. So we'll see what his soldiers can do here. He'll start out by having this thief try to take out this imp to see if he can break free. +1 against +1. And he got a critical hit, so that takes out that imp. It's a lot of damage. Then the imp killer will come over here. 2 right there to block that skull from getting into combat with Frappuccino. Next, their men-at-arms will attack this thug. That's a +3 against +2 for the thug. It's a 13 to an 11, so that is 3 damage on that thug. The man-at-arms will then push the thug out of combat and use its second action to climb up to here. Then the ranger will fire an arrow at that. Actually, he'll fire it at that thug back there. +2 against +2. The shot is a 21 to a 19. That is 11 points of damage on that thug, and that takes him down. Then I'm going to do something I don't really do much, which is have him do a jump. So he's going to run across here and jump over onto this. Coming over here, he can jump horizontally over to here. And that is 7 inches total. Then the treasure hunter with the magical dagger can move over here on 7 inches to get into combat on a single move, and she'll attack. She's using her magical dagger, so it's a +4 against +2. There's another critical hit. That thug goes down. Up to the top of the pyramid, this thief here will come around this side and attack this thug. Actually, he won't attack. He'll just stay in combat to keep that thug busy. Over here, this demon hunter will, on a double move, run down here to engage this white gorilla. They're hoping to get this thing stopped so that they can get this treasure out of here. And now this thug with support will attack. +4 against +4. And that's the gorilla wins, but no damage is dealt. And for their last remaining soldier, this Crowmaster will run off the board, securing the first treasure of the game. Zygomor's forces have just been seriously reduced, so he's going to have his treasure carriers run off the board. With fleet feet, this thief can get off the board, and this thief can get off the board as well, both on double moves, securing 2 treasure tokens. Then this thug that's hanging out around here is going to climb up this ladder and then run right over here on a double move. That way he's close enough to activate with Zygomor on his turn. For the creature phase, starting with this polar bear that appeared back here, it randomly moved to roll this way, but that's not really going to do anything. Next we'll jump over here to this gorilla with 13 health. It will attack the thug because he's got fewer health. This is a +4 against +4. And hey, the thug got a 22 against 12 armor. That's 10 more damage on the gorilla, and it is wounded. It's actually down to 1 health, and it will go ahead and push it out of combat. Or push himself out of combat, I suppose. And the only other uncontrolled creature is this animated skull, which will engage this thief and attack. The skull is a +0 against +1 for the thief. The skull wins with an 18. That's 8 damage on that thief. And that thief was already injured by one of those imps, so he goes down. He took out 2 imps, but couldn't handle that skull. At the end of the round, this thing will still activate. It'll target the thug first. On a 1 to a 10, he gets the elemental attack. He does. It's a +5 against his +2 defense. It's 13 against 12, so he takes 3 points of damage. Then this thief would heal for 5 health, but he's already at full. Next round, we'll roll for initiative. We've got Zygomor winning this time. For Zygomor's turn, he will activate with this thug, and this thug will run up this ladder, skirt around here, Actually, he's going to come around here so that if he loses, he won't get pushed off the edge. Then he will attack that thief. With support, it's a +4 against +1. Another critical hit for Buxino's team. So that thug goes down, and Zygomor is going to just work on getting out of here. He's going to try to cast Fleet Feet on himself on a 12. He'll empower that for 2, putting him down to 8. He can now move 8 inches, which he'll run down these stairs and end up right over here in contact with this terrain. To Frappuccino's turn, he is going to attempt to cast Mind Control on this thug. You can just barely see the top of his head there. So he'll attempt that on a 16. 4, failure by 12. He takes 2 points of damage. Then Frappuccino will run over here to get away from that skull. To the Apprentice phase, Ethmod is going to attempt to cast Imp up onto the pyramid on a 12 with a -2. It's a 5, failure by 7. He will let that fail, taking 2 points of damage. Then he is going to run away 6 inches over to here, up against that wall. Ryder over here is once again going to attempt to heal himself on a 9 with a -2. And that is a, well, actually with the -4 again. So he takes 2 points of damage, failing by 9. To the soldier phase, this thug up here, this orc thug, is just going to sit there holding that, and he's not going to attack. For Frappuccino's soldiers, this man-at-arms is going to run up this ladder over here and engage this thug. Then this thief will attack with support. The thief is a +3 against +2 for the thug. That is a 15 to a 12, so 4 damage because that's a dagger. The treasure hunter on a double move will run down these stairs to engage the white gorilla. Then the demon hunter will attack with support. Demon hunter is +4 and the gorilla is 2 because he's wounded. It's a 14 with +2 damage because it's a two-handed weapon. That is 4 damage against 12 armor, and the thing only had 1 health, so it goes down, giving them a few extra experience points. Then this thug carrying this treasure is going to make a run for the edge, making it to right there. This ranger is going to just walk across here and down the ladder. He should be able to move at normal speed horizontally down the ladder to over here to take a shot at that skull. All right, and since he moved, the skull gets a +1 against +2 shoot. That is a 18, so skull explodes. For the monster phase, that polar bear once again walks into that wall. I think in future games I might make sure that there's not kind of traps for the creatures when they pop onto the board, but that's how it is this game. For the Cups of Blessing and Wrath, the 2 closest figures are the thug and the thief here. So we'll start with the thug. On a 1 to 10, he takes a shooting attack. Nope, he gets healed for 5, so he's not wounded anymore. Now the thief up there gets attacked. This is a +5 against +1 for the thief. That is 19, so that's 9 damage on that thief. So he is just sitting there wounded with 1 health. Initiative for the next round. 5 against 8, so Zygomor is going first. Zygomor will activate. He's just going to spell spam and cast Animate Skull on a 6. He got that. And he'll just put that right up here, 6 inches from him. Then with his 8-inch move with Fleet Feet, he can run off the board. Frappuccino is going to run over here on a 6-inch move. And from there, he's just within the 6 inches to cast Healing on Ryder. Casting on a 9. They cannot cast the spell, failing by 7, taking 2 damage. Ethmod is also going to attempt to cast Animate Skull with a +2 and a -2, so basically he needs an 8. And he got that. And he's just going to put this skull over here. Then he will run off the board. Rider's at 1 health, so he's just going to run towards the edge. He's not going to risk casting something and dying. For the soldier phase, this thug is going to go ahead and attack that thief. The thug is no longer injured, so he's +2, and the thief is injured, wounded. So with support, he's a +1. The thief wins. That's an 18, and then with his dagger for -1 damage, that is 7 damage on the thug. He's down to 1. Now to Frappuccino's soldier phase. We'll see if this man-at-arms can put an end to this thug's life. So with support, that's a +4 against +2. And that is a 14. That thug was down to 1 health, and that would have been a +0 actually, so that thug dies. Now the battle is over because Zygomor has no figures left on the table. They will automatically secure that treasure that thug is carrying, but we'll have to roll to see if they secure this treasure, since no one is currently carrying that because that thug just died. So on a 15+, Frappuccino's Warband will secure the centralized treasure token, otherwise it is lost. An 8, so they do not get that treasure token. It was just within their grasp, but the game is officially over when there's no figures for the other team, so no one gets that treasure. Zygomor would have liked to have gotten off this battle with more than just these 2 treasures, but considering they started the battle with mostly thieves and thugs and short one of their soldiers, coming out with 2 treasures and that potion they brewed at the start is pretty good. We'll have to wait and see what treasures they find. We'll start out here with doing survival rolls. These first 4 won't really matter. Their entire regiment of orc thugs all fell in combat, but we'll just see how they did. We've got one that's fine, one that's dead, one that's fine, and one that is fine. So now for their man-at-arms, this is the important one. A 6, he is badly wounded. Zygomor's team has no after-game spells to cast, so we'll skip that part. For experience points, Zygomor gets 40 participation points, 10 for having 2 failed spells that cause them damage. They successfully cast 8 spells for 80. They defeated no monsters, random monsters. Since Zygomor got onto the pyramid, that gave them 20 bonus experience points. Since they were the first to touch that golden statue, they got 30 experience points. They retrieved 2 treasure tokens for 80 for a total of 260, and they already had 20 experience points in their bank. So they'll increase 2 levels. They will increase their health by +1 and lower the casting number of Imp, since they failed that spell a couple times, and that spell proved to be quite useful, and that leaves them with 80 experience points left over. For their 2 treasures, these are both regular treasures, so they both just get 1 roll here. They've got an 8 and an 11. 8 is a magic weapon or armor, and 11 is a magic item, so no just plain gold crowns from either of those. For their magic weapon or armor, they get a 20. 20 is a magical shield of +1 armor. And for their magical item, 17, that is a Horn of Destruction. And they can use that to cast the Crumble spell once per battle to kind of make a hole in some terrain, or they could sell that for 100 gold crowns. For spending treasure, first they're going to sell the Potion of Preservation they brewed at the start of the battle, and they'll use that to first pay 45 gold crowns to pay off the debt that Ethmod incurred after being badly wounded after their last battle. So they'll pay that off, and then they're my only warband that doesn't have carrier pigeons yet. So they're going to pay the full 80 for basically a new man-at-arms. We're saying they're just healing the injured, badly wounded man-at-arms they had. They're giving him that shield of armor +1. They spent 50 to hire an infantryman, and they gave that Horn of Destruction to their thief. It doesn't say it has to be used by a spellcaster, so he has that. Ethmod has their magical two-handed sword of fight +1, and their ranger, who had to sit out the last battle, is now eligible to rejoin the warband. Going into this battle, I expected Frappuccino to do much better than Zygomor because he had a full 8 soldiers, and some of those soldiers have been upgraded, but they ended up getting bogged down by those imps and that white gorilla. And surprisingly, even with how badly they were pinned down a few times, they only lost 1 thief and their blood crow. They would have liked to have gotten this centralized treasure token off the board, but that unlucky roll at the end means they lost out probably pretty big there on that treasure. So we'll go ahead and make some survival rolls. I don't think it really matters. A new blood crow comes no matter what, but just to see, it will be the same blood crow returning, and their free thief, he is still fine, so they'll have the same team unless someone gets hired and whatnot. And since it doesn't actually say in the rules when to determine things you might find in your base between battles, this is where I put it after their survival rolls, so they just made it back to their base. And Frappuccino is in a treasury, so we're going to roll a d20 to see if they find anything. A 7, all that is just 7 gold crowns, but that's still free money. Next is their after game spells, so they have Right Scroll. Frappuccino will cast that on a 12. Failure, and Rider on a 12-2, he also failed. So they still have been unable to cast any Scrolls of Time Walk, which was supposed to be a big part of their strategy. For experience points, Frappuccino gets 40 participation points. For failed spells that cause them damage, they failed Mind Control twice and Heal 3 times, so 25 experience points there. They only cast 4 spells during the battle, so that got them 40. They defeated 4 monsters, 2 imps and a skull that were summoned by Zygomor and that gorilla for 20 experience points. Frappuccino walked across the edge of the pyramid on that last turn, which got them 20 experience points. They retrieved 2 treasure tokens for 80, giving them a total of 225 to go with the 30 that they already had. And then they're going to use that to pass 2 levels to increase their health by +1 and to lower the casting number of Telekinesis by 1, and that leaves them with 55 experience points saved up. And their 2 treasure tokens, let's see what they get. A 4 and a 2. 2 is d20 times 10 gold, and 4 is 20 gold crowns and 3 potions, so these could be lots of money here. So 20 gold crowns times 10, 10 gold. For the 3 potions, we've got 1 and 2 7s. 1 is a potion of healing, and 7s are potions of teleportation. Those are actually pretty nice. So for selling and purchasing, they're going to sell all 3 of the potions that they found. The 2 potions of teleportation give them 100 gold crowns each, and the healing potion gives them 50. That combined with the 37 gold crowns they found between the battle and their search through their treasury, and the 27 gold crowns they already had, give them a total of 314 gold crowns, and they used 80 of that, well 70 actually, because they're discounted with their pigeons, but 70 for a man-at-arms, and then they spent 200 to install a scriptorium to their base to increase their chances of casting Right Scroll, and that leaves them with 44 gold crowns in their vault. I enjoyed this scenario, although it does seem like white gorillas show up way too much in my battles. The pyramid structure that goes on the table does a great job of blocking line of sight across the table through the middle, and the statue on it, while the healing aspect that it produced didn't really have any major effect on the game, the elemental shooting attack that it does took out Zygomor's best fighter in a single critical hit. And critical hits were kind of a big part of this game, as 3 of Zygomor's soldiers were taken out by those, and one of his imps got taken out by one of those as well. Something that the Necromancers did well was their imps that they cast and an animated skull did a good job kind of hindering Frappuccino's progress across the table. And for Frappuccino, he had some bad rolls in that game. They failed 3 healing spells, so I think they need to spend some time studying their spell book. And they missed out on that centralized treasure token, and one of the treasures they got, they ended up only getting 10 gold crowns for it. Next up for my campaign will be the Treasure Phantasmal scenario. If you notice any rules that I got wrong in this video, or if you have any questions about my gameplay, you can let me know in the comments below, as my goal with these videos is to create an accurate representation of how to play Frostgrave 2nd Edition. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to click like, add a comment, or subscribe so you can keep up with all the content that I'm releasing. And with that, I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, and I'll see you on the next video.